I will exterminate you. Hello, welcome to my baking show. As you have seen how I made my wonderful souffle, I will need someone to taste my wonderful souffles. I would like you to welcome... Other side. I'd like you to welcome War Machine. Oh yeah, man! Love you, War Machine. Yeah, woo, woo, yeah, woo, woo. We're on here. Oh, what kind of apron is that? It's my cool red, white, and blue type of apron. Blue and red and white is not in. Blue and white is in. You spelled baker wrong. You have nothing on me. And besides, I corrected it. My souffle? No! Oh, it's gotten flat. Is that a souffle? Or a Flunk? Oh! Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. It's okay. I'm okay. Ow. I must bake it again. No! Maybe you should just stick with being a villain. That sounds nice. I would like that. Oh ha 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 ha. I'll get you one day. What?